All right, guys, our next guest is the Ariel Hawani 2019 Coach of the Year, the man behind City Kickboxing and champions such as Israel Adesanya, Alex Volkanovski, fighters such as Dan Hooker, Kai Kara France, Brad Riddell, Shane Young, and many more competing on the Eternal card just a day before the big show. He has helped build the sport in Australasia to the point that the UFC has decided to bring a card back to Auckland and feature some of the best local talent on it. It's an honor to welcome Eugene Bareman back to Submission Radio. Coach, I know it's no surprise to you, but a very big honor to have you here on Submission Radio today.
Yeah, thanks for that massive introduction. Yeah, I don't know if it's deserved, but yeah, thank you. I'm good to be back.
I feel like it just sufficed, man. I feel like there was more things that we could have said. I'm wondering, when it comes to this UFC Auckland card, how much credit can you take for this one? You know, not just yourself, but you and City Kickboxing for sort of bringing the UFC back to Auckland, because it's been a while. And when you look at the card, obviously there's a lot of CKB guys, and I feel like a lot of it is to do with the success that you guys have been having.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take much credit, but the boys can. The boys have, as you know, like we've kind of risen to prominence in the last few years, and the boys are responsible for that. They've forced their way. They've forced their way into that top echelon. You've forced to get there. We've taken over. That's been our MO. We always use comparisons from war, even though it's quite different. But we've gone in and we've taken over. We've invaded different countries and taken over.
Well, let me ask you this, Huge, because we saw a great interview that you did with Combat TV a few weeks ago where you said that you weren't sure if the boys were where you wanted them to be for fight day at that point. But that interview was a few weeks old, and now, as we're approaching fight week, give us a little update. Are you happy where the guys are heading into the big fight, UFC Auckland?
It's a funny old thing, but, these guys are so seasoned now that their body and their mind know when to step it up. And I just told all the boys, all three of them, that the last sparring I seen, which was now it was on Monday, I said that was probably the best sparring we've had. So it just seems to me that these type of athletes, as it gets closer to the event, they just kind of autonomously just lift their level. They just know. So now I'm in a great place now.
It's one of those things where I'm always curious to hear the mindset from a coach like yourself. I suppose there's always sort of levels that you can achieve and goals that you can aim and things that you can see from your fighter leading into a fight that you'd be happy with. And then there's always things that you're always going to be working on, no matter when the fight is, no matter what's going to happen. So I'm just wondering, like, when you see a fighter and you know, okay, this guy is ready, what kind of sort of criteria stands out in your mind when you look at him? Is it to do with skill set and to do with conditioning and to do with mindset?
It's a little bit of both, but my main indicator is that we work on specific things for the fight, and at the start you learn them at a very conscious level, but then by the end of camp you want them operating at a very subconscious level. So you want them doing it, automatically without even thinking about it, without even almost knowing that they're doing it. And that's the type of indicator or the type of reaction that I like to see. And when I'm getting these things, that's when I know that we're in good stead, like we're good to go going into that fight.
As always, Huge, you've got a crazy weekend ahead of yourself. You've obviously got a million fights. You've got Eternal MMA the night before in Auckland, and then you've got the big UFC Auckland card the next morning. You've got multiple fights on that card. And I'm just wondering, when you look at, say, the Dan Hooker fight, obviously a pivotal fight for him in his career, him taking on Paul Felder. How do you see that one sort of going, and what is the big thing that stands out to you as far as what Dan can do against Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big one. I mean, it's, these UFC guys, it's cliche, but every fight seems to be their biggest fight. Like every single time we come up is always a pivotal fight for all of these guys. But yeah, Dan's is definitely Paul's, I'm not going to say he's a gatekeeper, but he's like holding the key to those doors that open real big opportunities for Dan to make his way into title contention, which is, of course, is always our goal, no matter what UFC fighter I'm talking about. Our goal is the title. So this is a huge one, and this is a very tough fight. I feel the odds are going to be pretty even, to be honest. I feel like this is a straight down the middle fight. I feel like we have to perform to the best of our ability on the night and minimize the amount of mistakes we make. And I think it's just that type of fight where the skill sets are so close that sometimes it comes down to who makes the least mistakes wins, and I think it's going to be that type of fight.
A fascinating preview of it. I'm wondering, because Dan sort of brought up the fact that it's a little bit personal for him. Paul's put up some memes and said some stuff about his surname, and obviously, Dan wasn't too happy about it because of the implications that it had for his family, for his lineage, just the stuff that it meant. How do you stop Dan? Like, how does that affect the fight from your perspective in terms of stopping Dan from being too emotional when it comes down to fight night? Or do you want him to be emotional to a point where it can sort of help? So break that down for us a little, Huge.
I want him to be motivated. But me and Dan, we get back a bit now. I have a very good understanding of Dan and the way his mindset works, and I don't mind him being highly motivated, even if it's by something negative. What I am, pretty confident that I can keep control of is that he doesn't fight emotionally, and I think that me and himself, we have a pretty good understanding, and we know that when we go into the fight, we can't fight with emotion. But in terms of motivating him to get ready for this fight, sometimes you can see things like that as a positive.
Well, I'm just wondering, we've seen like what Paul has said leading into this fight. Do you anticipate more sort of potential mind games from Felder in fight week? You faced guys like Anderson Silva before with Israel Adesanya. Paul Felder is a bit of a wily veteran in the fact that he knows the power of what he says, and he loves to sort of build up a fight before it happens. Do you imagine he's going to keep trying to do that before the fight day, through the press conferences, through the stare downs, through the media days?
It's all part of the game. It's all part of what makes a great fighter great. Is that the fight starts, the fight starts when you sign the contract, when you first, and for people that get deep into it, like Israel does, like, he's already, before he's even fighting these guys, sowing seeds and keeping people at arm's length. So the fight starts really early. There's a lot of stuff that goes on before the fight. Yes, the stuff that happens in the cage is really the stuff that counts the most. But yeah, it's your job to get any psychological edge and any edge for that matter in the fight. So I definitely anticipate more kind of mind games from Paul. And he's not like, he's not an outlandish guy. His kind of psychological stuff, the kind of advantages he tries to get are those subtle, the really subtle type of hints that he makes. So yeah, it'll go on, but it's like, we've been around a long time. Dan's been around a long time. He knows how to deal with these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's of like absolutely no concern to me, because I know it's water off a duck's back, as they say.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Israel, and obviously we want to ask you about Israel and Yoel Romero, but just before we talk about that, you've obviously got Brad Riddell on the card as well. You got Kai Kara-France as well, trying to rebound from UFC 245. I'm just wondering, if all goes well this weekend, in general, what would this weekend mean to you? The UFC back in Auckland, you've got Eternal MMA, you've got so many fighters, and I know you've had cards before here in Melbourne where you've had a lot of fighters, but does this one feel different to you because it is a home game? I feel like in a lot of ways it's a culmination of all your hard work. Is there more pressure because it's at home? What exactly does it mean to you, Huge?
Oh, this is massive. Like the buzz around the gym is definitely different. Like we've gone from being, just a part of the card, Dan being a part of the card twice. So I believe he's the main event, and the other two fighters, like those three guys in this gym, if you like, are the focal point of this whole event. To come from, I watched Dan Hooker. I was a training partner for Dan Hooker in the first UFC that ever came to Auckland.
Oh, wow.
And I was sitting in the second to last row at the back of the stadium. So right up the top. That's where I was sitting. And then I watched him fight Ian Entwistle and win that. And now come full circle. Now Dan's the main, now Dan is the main event, and now I'm sitting in the closest seat to the fight that you could possibly see. So, it's absolutely huge for us. It means a lot. I want, it's a showcase for us. And, let's get this show done. Let's get these victories. Let's show what New Zealand's all about. Let's showcase New Zealand, our talent, our country, and let's bring a title defense back to New Zealand. Whether it be Volkanovski, I know that's controversial, having a title defense in New Zealand, or Israel.
We'll take it. It's a short flight for us.
And it's a good holiday for all the Aussies. New Zealand is a beautiful place.
Man, you guys can get across here easy.
Yeah,
of course. And we're yet to visit City Kickboxing as well, so we'd love to do it. You said something really interesting, Huge, and that is, in an interview, you said how even though Auckland is happening this weekend, the guys are hanging around after Auckland because they're going to be helping Israel out in his fight, and that's the mindset of the gym, which I found very, very fascinating and inspirational. So speaking of Israel. And this fight with Yoel Romero at UFC 248, we're just coming off this press conference where Israel flew all the way to America and all the way back and made it to the Spider workout. I'm just wondering, I know you're not much into social media and you don't keep up with the news too much, but what did you make of the Yoel Romero that we saw at the press conference? He was trying to get across to Israel as much as he could. He was trying to shake his hand across the stage. He was doing backflips and splits just to go one over him. In the stare downs. What did you make of that sort of interaction for the first time between the two?
I actually watched it. I don't all the time watch it, but I like to see them when they're standing next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first true indication of of the height and size differentials that you can get the first time they ever stand. So it's always a good clue. I'm always very interested when Israel first comes eye to eye with someone. I'm particularly just interested in the height differential, and if I can see any reach differential, but that's harder to see. But the actual interaction, the dancing thing, I don't know. I think I thought it was just typical Israel. And then they just went back and forth. And, I don't know. I don't think too much of those things. I think Israel just did his thing. And Yoel did his thing. It's it's an interesting dynamic with those two. There's definitely respect there, but you can see that they both also know how to build a fight.
Yeah.
That they know how to build a fight. You can see that there's an agreement that they have to build that fight, but there's also a mutual respect. So I don't think you're going to see either one of them, especially Israel, stepping over the line in terms of building the fight. Yeah.
I saw you said recently that you wanted to sort of set a blueprint for beating Romero and to do it in maybe a slightly different way that people kind of expect. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, we just believe if we can implement the strategy and some of the skills that we want to against Romero, we believe that we can get a different type of victory, in the sense that most of Romero, most of the victories that people get over Romero are very controversial and very close. But we just see a different path, and that's only, of course, if we are able to implement our game plan. We believe that we can beat Romero a lot more convincingly than everybody else. But at the end of the day, our goal is always a victory. So, yeah.
I've heard you describe it as sort of like you want an Alex Volkanovski Romero. I guess the way Alex beat Max Holloway. But I'm wondering, is that a case of beating him clearly over 5 rounds, or is that a case of, stopping and finishing Romero? And I'm wondering if you feel like that can be done, because people have this perception of Romero as just a tank that keeps on coming.
Yeah, we want Alex Volkanovski. We want to win all 5 rounds convincingly, with no doubt in anyone's mind. That's what Alex did, right? I think everybody can agree on that. I know that's still controversial. I know there's still people that think that fight's close, but that's ridiculous. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Yeah, well, that's the reference I use, because Alex completely dominated that fight every single round. It wasn't close. It was without a doubt, and we want to do the same thing. We never have a game plan to stop Romero, so I'm more talking about just unanimously, without any doubt, beating him. That's what we want to do.
It's interesting because Israel brought up during the press conference how this is, and I guess it's a big selling point for the fight as well, like this is Yoel's possible last chance at winning a title. And he's had so many chances before, so he's expecting, the best version of Yoel Romero. We've seen Yoel come out there, and we've seen him implement a number of, I don't know if they're game plans, but strategies to beat his opponents. And for one fight is different to the other. The only thing that's a constant is he's very dangerous at the end of the fight, and he's very unpredictable. So I'm just wondering, what do you think is the biggest mistake that Romero's past opponents have made in fighting him? And are you anticipating a different Romero yet again in this fight, especially with so much being on the line for him?
I'm not expecting the leopard to change his spots too many times, to be honest. For the most part, I expect to see the Romero that we've seen in previous fights. The biggest mistake, I don't know, like mistakes like lapses in concentration. One of the biggest mistakes you can make against Romero. He kind of like has this thing where he definitely goes on the defensive and kind of lulls you into thinking that you can be really assertive, and then you lose concentration. Just when you start to think you're getting ascendancy, he's kind of gathering up his next attack, and then he hits you with it. So losses in concentration is something that we're not going to fall prey to.
Before we move off Yoel, just a quick question on, obviously it was supposed to be Paulo Costa who was supposed to fight Israel Adesanya. Him and Romero had a very close fight. Who do you think is the harder challenge for you and Israel in the camp? Yoel Romero or the Paulo Costa fight?
Paulo Costa and Romero, they pose different challenges for us. For us, Romero is probably a little bit more of a challenge. I'm not going to say he's tougher or he's stronger or he's more explosive, but he's a little bit more of a challenge for us. Paulo Costa, we've had 100 kickboxing fights against the best, the best opposition there is in the world. Paulo Costa's he's a good stand-up proponent, but he's not nowhere near in the top echelon of the world like the opposition we've faced. We've seen that version many times. We've seen power hitters, explosive punches. We've seen many better versions of what he does over and over and over again, year after year after year. Romero brings us, a lot different look, a lot different flavor. The wrestling, the explosiveness, the weird, the weird kind of style he has. For us, Romero's a little more of a challenge for us.
Mm-hmm. As we let you go, Huge, I know this whole Israel and Jon Jones feud. I know you're not too keen on Israel fighting Jon Jones because you feel like, why give Jon Jones that opportunity? But Israel keeps saying that, 2021 Raiders Stadium. I'm wondering if you guys have discussed that at all. Have you guys sort of gone back and forth as far as, your different philosophies on whether that fight should happen or not? And I'm wondering if you learned anything new about Jon Jones at UFC 247 this past weekend, because obviously had a very close decision.
No, I mean, that's not up. That's the thing. It's not up to Israel. I make the decision on the fight. So, come 2021, Israel has to convince me that we should fight Jon Jones. And if I don't feel that we have to, then it's not going to happen. It's not even Israel's call. So,
what would he have to do to convince you?
There's a lot of things he'd have to do, and a lot of those things that he'd have to do to fight Jones start now. They've already started. There's a lot of stuff that we have to do. That's for all of Jon Jones' fault as a person, he's still a very, very good fighter. And to prepare for someone of that nature who's that good, the prep for that sort of fight starts now. But I've already stated that I don't think that fight's necessary. Jon can, Jon's on his own journey. I think he might be going to heavyweight and doing his thing. Like he seems to be trying to just, whether it's fake or real, he's trying to be a better person. He's, I don't know. He prays and stuff now and on social media, and someone sent me the other day he does charity work on social media now, so he's trying to change his persona and stuff, so good on him. I think we're on a different path. I just think we're on a different journey. Israel got a lot of convincing to do before that fight happens.
And Israel mentioned if Jon goes to heavyweight, he could possibly follow him up to heavyweight and fight him at heavyweight. And we know you've mentioned Stipe at heavyweight before. I mean, would that be a part of convincing fighting? Do you think fighting Jon Jones at heavyweight is a possibility at all for you guys if you guys do decide to go down that path in the future?
Yep, fighting at heavyweight is not a problem for Israel. He's not going to weigh heavyweight. That wouldn't be where our advantage is. He would never weigh what a heavyweight. We'd fight them at walk around weight, which is barely past what middleweight limit is, barely what the middleweight limit is. But Israel stated, and I think it's a very good plan. He's gonna do his thing in the middleweight division. There's some really tough challenges. He should clear those out. There's at least 3 or 4 more good challenges, but that 3 or 4 more fights for Israel is like maybe within this year.
Yeah.
So after that, what's the next challenge? It's for him, and we've done it in all the sports that we've participated in, is to move up in weight. And trust me, if he has these 3 or 4 more middleweight fights, we will push to fight Stipe.
Oh wow.
100%. Yeah. Well, that's the fight. I was half joking to get the attention off all this Jon Jones stuff, but that's a serious. Yeah. I'm making a serious claim there, a serious stake. Israel can, get the business done at middleweight, and if he's successful, then he will definitely look to move up and challenge Stipe. Like, that's a serious thing. But for us, we're not paying immediate attention to it. There's just so much that we have to put our concentration into now that it's on the back burner. It's in the back of our mind. So, yeah. Let's see if that hurries along Jon Jones.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to with you guys, not just with Israel, but with everybody there. Eternal MMA, and then UFC Auckland. And you know what I find funny, Huge. We're gonna be wrapping up right now, but and you won't find Eugene on social media, because we've spoken about it before, and we're not all fans of social media, including Eugene. But City Kickboxing is now on Instagram and Facebook, and you guys have awesome pages. I mean, that would have had to tear you apart a little bit when you had to make the executive decision for that to happen, right, Huge?
Yeah. I mean, the gym is part and parcel of owning a business. You got to have social media, right? I do the odd post on it. I'll be honest. I'll do the odd post on it. I don't have a personal one, but yeah, you can City Kickboxing. Follow City Kickboxing. You can see a little bit of me on that sometimes. But I have about 8 people who post. That's how I work my way around it. If you have like 10 people all posting stuff, then you never have to post something.
I'll tell you what, man. I would love to see you posting. That would be a piece of video that I think we would cherish very much, because it's a rarity that I'm pretty sure no one's ever seen before. Of course, UFC Auckland goes down this weekend, featuring a number of CKB athletes, including Dan Hooker, who takes on Paul Felder in the main event. And Eternal MMA is absolutely stacked. For all the people internationally who haven't watched Eternal, do check it out. A lot of great CKB talent on there, a lot of great local talent on there. And there he is, the coach that brought the UFC back to Auckland, one of the most organic and fun Australasian cards in quite some time. Eugene, we appreciate everything that you guys have done for the sport, and we can't wait to see what happens this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.